Hello and welcome to today's webinar. So today we're going to cover the topic of the month-end close, a process that every finance operations person will go through, a process that nobody necessarily enjoys, a process that's full of manual, repetitive tasks, a process that has evolved over time, but with the advent of AI, with the advent of automated processes, it's continuing to evolve. And hopefully today what we'll do is we'll take you through, show you some of those processes and help bring efficiencies to your month-end process. So the agenda for today, firstly, we'll cover some of the main pain points that we experience around the month-end close process. We'll then look at Business Central, which is Microsoft's ERP offering in the area, and how they would deal with month-end close process. And then we'll look at a few practical steps and key takeaways that will hopefully help you in your business streamline your month-end process. So I'm Connor Flanagan, I lead the ERP team in Storm Technology and the Little Fish Digital Services. And if you have any questions to follow up today around Business Central, around the month-end close process in particular, I'm happy for you to reach out to me directly. Okay, so what does a normal month-end close look like? It generally looks like siloed teams dealing with specific tasks that they deal with every month on a repetitive process on a tight timeline. What are the issues and the risks around that? The risks around that are obviously visibility to start with. So if you're a CFO, if you're a group financial controller, what processes do you have? What tracking process do you have to follow up with the different teams to make sure that they've completed their tasks? How do you know that AP have posted their final invoices? How do you know that the asset journals have been posted through? How do you know that someone has reviewed and chased the relevant creditors? Making sure that those tasks are completed, having visibility over those tasks, having responsibility against those tasks is a key part to closing month end in an efficient manner. The obvious next step to that is then completing those tasks. So how can those tasks actually be completed in a more efficient manner? So if that is consolidation, if that is depreciation, if that is payment journals, how do we streamline that process to reduce the manual steps and automate as much as possible? So that's what we're going to try and talk through today. So that's where Business Central comes in. But what we would aim to do is, how do we go from, retrospective analysis, which is historically what month end is. It's reviewing your creditors at a point in time. It's reviewing your P&L at a point in time. It's reviewing your financial numbers after your month end is closed, then making decisions, then completing analytics. The whole move at the minute is away from that retrospective process to more real-time analytics, more in-the-moment analytics. So can we use things like alerts and triggers based on when things go outside budget, or when creditors become overdue by a certain point, or debtors come overdue by a certain point? That empowers us, but it also reduces the need for manual intervention, and it allows us to make decisions in a more timely manner. So that essentially moves tasks that were previously month-end close or year-end close tasks to more day-to-day tasks that can be managed in more real time to make the month-end process less burdensome, and that you've already essentially made decisions and followed up when it comes to that point. We touched on the manual steps. We all know that the obvious points around AP, automating that, but it's where can we bring the likes of agentic AI or even simple classic automations into the month-end process to allow us to reduce the need for manual steps, but also potentially improve speed, improve accuracy, and give us better analytics and better insights to our data. So reducing manual process, increasing automated process in AI will not only reduce the need for time and people, but it'll also then give us more insights and better analytics. So it's a win-win. Again, the silo teams and the visibility, that's what we touched on. That's what we'll go through in the demo. How can we use tools like simple task trackers to give us that visibility across the company, across the finance team, and to allow people to know where tasks are at and potentially improve efficiencies and responsibility around that as well. And that last point is the key point. How do we move from a repetitive, manual, burdensome month-end process to more of a real-time analytics style process where we're constantly reviewing these numbers, constantly reviewing these data to allow us to make that better and more informed decisions. So this is Business Central. So anyone that hasn't seen Business Central before, it's a cloud-based ERP solution. It's part of your Microsoft 365 stack. So you access it just like any other Microsoft 365 app. You log in using your Microsoft 365 account. So once you're logged into your account, you're logged into your Business Central. And it's what Microsoft would call role tailored, meaning the home screen or the dashboard is tailored to your role or your job. So if your job was in procurement, you might see a number of little boxes or queues here that are related to purchase orders and deliveries and receipts and things like that. Whereas if your job was in warehousing, it might be more around picks and puts and that sort of stuff. If it's a finance manager, it then might be around reporting and dashboards and key triggers. So the point is these queues or boxes can be tailored to the role that's relevant to you. What I'll focus on today initially is this concept of user tasks. It's something that's core to the product, but it's something that not many people avail of and use in my experience. So what user tasks are is essentially a list of tasks that need to be completed that can then be assigned to either users or groups of users and can be set up in a recurring fashion. So the obvious use case for that, or the advantage of that, is potentially around the month-end close process. So as part of the month-end close process, you can set a list of tasks. So that could be things like consolidation journals, that could be depreciation, that could be payments, that could be import journals, that could be post-recurring journals. And you can then assign those out to the relevant teams. And then you can then mark them as completed or track them. The real advantage of that then is directly from these tasks. So if I just go back to the home screen, you can see that Connor Flanagan, myself, has 4 tasks. And I can actually run these tasks directly from here. So I'm to run the month-end depreciation. I can come in here and hit go to task. That will then run the depreciation process if I just run it for the end of the year. It'll then run through and create the depreciation journal directly from here. So as you can see, it'll create the depreciation journal. You can hit post and you can go back to your list of user tasks. And if you so wish, then mark that task as complete and it will then update accordingly in the central dashboard. That ability to, see your tasks in one clear list, complete your tasks from one clear list, but also then mark as completed, makes things much more efficient for you as a user, but also makes things much more efficient for management and central teams that can see across the different group and see where things are at. If we were to look at another example here, we can see whatever this is, review outstanding payables. So if we were to go to that task, we can see again, it'll pop up the aged account payables report. We can run that as at a point in time. And it will then generate and throw up an aged accounts payable report. So you can then see from here where we're at against our payables. That can be exported. You can download that. You can make decisions based on that. Again, we can then come back to the central dashboard and we can mark that as completed. Equally, if we want to go in, we can go into that task and we can then review it in more detail. We can change the priority of it. If we want to mark something as a high risk, a low risk, we can change the percentage completion. So say it's posting payroll journals, we posted half the payroll journals, for example. It can be done in that sort of instance as well. So that ability to track tasks, track priority of tasks, and track progress of tasks is useful and very good. So you can see over here as well, tasks can be assigned to either a user, i.e. Connor Flanagan, or to a team or a task group, as it's called. So the advantage of a task group is that the task group can contain a number of different users. So this AP team is purely Connor Flanagan, so not much of a team, but in theory that team could contain 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. And that means that once you assign the task to that team, they then all have visibility of it. They can then all update that task and they can all then mark that task as completed accordingly as well. So the other point on that then is centrally, you can get a view of all tasks that in the business, where those tasks sit and who those tasks are with. So now instead of just looking purely at my tasks that are assigned to me, I'm now looking at everyone's tasks in company A and where those tasks sit. So you can see that there's a number of tasks here with the GL team, the finance team, the AR team, the AP team, and a couple of tasks sitting with Connor Flanagan. And indeed, you can see that we posted an appreciation journal a little minute ago, so it's now marked as 100% complete. So that ability to get that overview at a company level of all the different tasks is excellent. Just to show you, I guess, very quickly how easy it is to create one, you can just create a task for review debtors. Essentially, what you need to do then is you need to create the link. So you can then link that to what's called a page or what's called a report. So if we want to link that to a page, which could be a journal page, an invoice page, that could be your continue page, or that can be linked to a report, such as page accounts receivable. Meaning that whenever you now run that report or whenever you now run that review debtor, it will now run the aged accounts receivable report. So that's how easy it is to create a task and then to link that task to a particular task, or particular activity, or particular page in the system. So that's efficient. That's quite good. The limitation that you may see or you may think is that this is now done at a company level. So if you're a group structure, which a lot of clients are, where they have a number of different entities, you then need a way to see that or you get that visibility across the group. And I suppose another part of the month-end close process, which we'll move on to next, is around that group structure. A key part of managing a group is consolidation and intercompany. So Business Central has full intercompany functionality, meaning an invoice in one can post an invoice in another, a journal one can post a journal in the other, streamlining that intercompany process. However, when it comes to consolidation, it also has very good consolidation functionality, meaning that you can set up like a third company, if you will, called a consolidated company. And within that consolidated company, you can bring the transactions from all of the other entities in there, giving you that central consolidated view of all the different transactions across all the different entities. So equally, we're now in a consolidated company. And within that consolidated company, it's the same as all the other entities. You can still have your user tasks. You can still have your consolidated chart of accounts, for example. And just to show you what it looks like, if I was to drill in on the chart of accounts here and have a look at the income statement, I can then look at all of my sales or all of my revenue. And you can see that you've got a number of transactions in here. But I guess crucially, what we've got now is we've got the business unit as well. So you can call these business units whatever you want. But you can see here we've got revenue in from company one to company one and company three, basically. So we're now consolidating two different entities in here. And if anyone is familiar with Business Central Copilot Analyze, you could then in theory analyze this as well. So you could say group transactions by business unit code. There. And go generate. So if I go group transactions by business unit code and hit generate, that should work out my terrible spelling, which it done, and it managed to group all the sales revenue by business unit code. So you can start to see how that would be more valuable if you had 5, 6, 7 subsidiaries. But equally, if you're doing this at a P&L level rather than just a revenue level, or if you wanted to review creditors, debtors, things like that at a group level. So we're now looking at the screen at revenue broken down by group company. So we see at a consolidated level, we've got 48K, and at a group, at an individual company level, we've got 24K each. So, and again, that was done using Copilot Chat. So that's AI generated report. If I go back to the home screen, just to show you again how easy it is. I now want to run the consolidation process. So I want to bring those transactions in. So how do I, as part of my monthly process, do my consolidation in effect? Well, similarly, within the consolidated company, I created a task which is called run consolidation. And I can come in here and I can click go to task item. And again, what we're looking at now is we're looking at a page called business units. So business units are all your different entities. So each entity, each subsidiary is a business unit in effect. What you can do is you can group those business units in different ways, and you can suck the transactions from them into the one central consolidated company. So what we want to do is we want to come in here to the central company. We want to hit the button that says consolidate, and then we have to run it for a period of time. So in theory, we can run it for a year, and we can hit next, and then it asks you to select what entities you want to include. So what entities are you consolidating? What transactions do you want to bring in? And you just click through the wizard and hit OK. And what it'll do is it'll suck in any relevant transactions. Consolidation has been successful. The current consolidation companies have imported the entries from the relevant business units. So what that now allows is for visibility in the system of all the transactions from all the different subsidiaries. Previously, that would have been largely an Excel job where you would export a TB from each company and use Excel formulas to try and console. You can get that consolidated view now in system rather than having to do that Excel extra step. To show you what that might look like, so from a finance reporting perspective, we can come into the system and we can create consolidated financial reporting as well. So we're in our consolidated company. We're looking now at, let's look at one of our income statement codes. If I look at one of our income statement codes and I go view financial report, what that will now do is that will now create a little mini bit of a P&L with a column per company. So what I'm now looking at here is a P&L statement with a column for each company and then a total column as well. So if I was to put that in for 2024, it will generate and regenerate with any balances that are in there. And ultimately, what you can now do as well is you can now export that. So you can either export that to Excel or you can export that to PDF as well. So if I wanted to export this now group P&L to PDF, I can do that. And you're essentially now looking at a consolidated P&L with not very much data, granted, in the consolidated company. So it's now pulling all the data from company A, company B, company C, given the total and showing it in a consolidated view in system. So that ability to, those reports can also be exported to Excel. So if there's familiarization there, or if you're used to reporting through Excel, you can still bring your consolidated transactions together. You can run your financial report, which will essentially show you a column per P&L, and then you can shoot that to Excel and use that as the basis for the starting of your reporting. So it can still help a number of steps along the journey. The other point here as well is, as this is just another Business Central company, so as this is just the same as company A, B, and C, you can post journals in here as well. So if you did want to post reallocation journals, elimination journals, intercompany journals that haven't been posted through the standard functionality, that can all be done in here as well. So you can post journals just using your standard general journal functionality in system, which will post only in the consolidated company. Again, that's quite often something that happens in Excel or in a reporting tool, but having the ability to bring your consolidated postings into the system is quite efficient and helps greatly. Okay, so one other thing I want to show is we looked at tasks earlier. The tasks we looked at were at a company-specific level. When we looked at the overview we looked at was at a company level. So we could look at an overview of all the tasks for company A. If I'm the group CFO or the group financial controller, I want to be able to get visibility on all of the tasks that are assigned across all of the entities and where those tasks are at. So what we've done is we've created a basic Power BI report and embedded that Power BI report within the dashboard of Business Central. So one of the huge advantages of Business Central is the integration across the stack. So the integration with Outlook, with Excel, and with the likes of Power BI. So here we created a very, very primitive Power BI report, but the point of it is to show you that you can create these reports with the data from the companies and then embed them within the company. So you're not actually having to go to Power BI and then come back here. You're experiencing the Power BI report within the Business Central environment. So what are we actually looking at here? We're looking at exactly the data we were looking at earlier. We've got company A, company B, and company C, and we've got all the tasks that are due to be completed and who, crucially, those tasks are with. So this is quite a nice overview dashboard of where you're at towards your month-end close process. So as we said earlier, we can set these up on a recurring basis so that month on month this can reset to 0, and then you can start again and look at, okay, so have we posted all our purchase invoices through? Have we run our depreciation journals? Have we run our creditor check? Have we run our FX gain and loss process? And you can have a task for each one of those that somebody goes down and marks off. That ensures completeness. It ensures you don't miss anything, but it also ensures that great responsibility as well. So that who is responsible for that, what user is completing that, and how they mark that as completed. So you can see here all the different tasks. So posting invoices, completing bank recs, running data processes, etc. And you can see that out of this, we've got our depreciation, which I done earlier in this session, completed, and we've got our bank recs, which are 100% completed as well by the finance team. So you can see that we still have a good bit of work to do towards closing out our process. Okay, so what we went through today was we reviewed the month-end close process and a few tools within Business Central that can be used to help streamline the process and give you more visibility around what your team is doing and around the tasks that are required to close out the month-end. We hope you found that useful. We hope you find that you maybe implement some of those into your current business. A lot of those tools are included, or all of those tools, in fact, are included within your license fee and your current Business Central subscription. So if you would like more of those tools, feel free to reach out to myself or any of the team, and we can talk you through that, and we can talk through how by embracing more functions within Business Central, you can help automate and optimize some of your key processes. So this little offer on the screen here is essentially just showing that we're happy to reach out, to have calls, to have meetings with your finance team, to review your current Business Central process, and to see if we can review your current month-end close process, and if we can add efficiencies to that or increase visibility across the team, the company, or the group to help improve communication and streamline the month-end close process. Thank you very much, and if you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or any of the team. Thank you.